Oh. Yo, I forgot my microphone. My microphone was across my desk right there. I was gonna be like, wait, I gotta talk. Yeah, okay. So, hi everyone. I'm EDJ, and we're going to be watching, binge watching, because I'm about to watch all 5 parts. Wait, there are 5 parts, right? Yeah, so I'm about to binge watch this entire series of Admiral Yi. I probably did not pronounce that. This is the part where we're like, going further, like near Asia or at Asia, actually, where I just know that I'm gonna butcher every pronunciation of every name. That's why, like, I kind of want to cover, like, Chinese, Japanese, a lot of Asian history, but the problem is that I just know I'm gonna butcher every name I try to pronounce. So that's kind of been my biggest fear. So right now, I'm assuming it's pronounced Admiral Yi, but we're about to find out. I don't know anything about this guy, and I wish I could give more thoughtful commentary right now, but unfortunately, I'm ignorant, guys. I don't know anything. I didn't really research. Like, sometimes in these series, I come in kind of already with a mindset research, and sometimes I just don't. And this is one of the instances where I didn't, because I'm just planning on learning from extra history. And yeah. So, yeah, I think with that said, we should probably just get right into it, huh? So, let's learn about this Admiral Yi, who I'm assuming is from Korea, from extra history. Part 1, keep beating the drum.
The year is 1572, 26 years earlier. A 28-year-old man rides across an open plain. A group of military men stand quietly, observing. His horse stumbles. He's thrown. At first, everybody watching thinks he's dead. His leg is horribly bent, broken. But after a moment, he gets up, dragging one leg behind him, and pulls himself to a willow tree. He binds his leg with its branches, remounts his horse, and finishes the military examination. He fails the exam anyway, but 4 years later he'll be back. He'll pass, and so will begin the career of one of the most glorious admirals of all time. It's strange that this man even decided to join the military.
That's pretty awesome. That's already sets a tone, huh? Like, yeah, he fell, but if that's true that he got back up, immediately fixed his leg, I'd let him pass for that. I'd be like, yo, this guy's resourceful. He doesn't give up. Like, we need that in the military. Then again, I know this is a different time, different culture, different standards for the military. Probably any bit of failure, it's like instant fail, right? That's why riding horses scares me. Like, I got on a horse once, like, when I was, like, 5. Like, when I went to Nicaragua. And, like, I was so scared because before I got on the horse, that horse ran off with some person, with another family member of mine who wasn't, like, also never knew how to ride horses. So, like, I don't know. And then when I went back there, like, 10 years ago, well, 9 years ago, there was some really aggressive horse that was, like, really angry and looked like it was about to, like, beat up my grandpa when he was trying to get on it. I don't know, horses kind of scare me, like, to some degree. I don't know why I told any of you that, I just, like, it brought back a memory.
Korea had known 200 years of relative peace, threatened only by the occasional raids from the Jurchen tribes on the northern border and pirate crews plying the nearby sea. The military was not a highly respected career choice for a man of noble birth. Taking the civil service exams and joining the ranks of the Confucian court was a much better way to achieve power and success. And yet this man, Yi Sun-shin, though he was schooled in the Confucian texts, had dreamed of being a soldier since he was a little boy. And so at last, when he had passed the military exam, he was appointed to a desolate fort along the northern border. While most of the border forts were pits of corruption, seen simply as a place to dump individuals who had fallen out of favor with the court, Yi drilled his men rigorously and refortified his post, bringing it up to true readiness in case of an attack. One day, the provincial governor came by to inspect the post. This was a man all of the fort commanders dreaded, known for his harsh punishments and brutal discipline. But when he came to Yi, he simply said, well done, and moved on. Shortly thereafter, Yi was moved back to Seoul, a sign of growing favor, and he was given a post at the military academy there, training new recruits. He was by all accounts rigorous, diligent, and incorruptible. And this was exactly the problem. At this time, the military academy was actually a tool for younger noble sons to jump up the ranks quickly, and for courtiers to channel their favorite people into the cushiest assignments. And Yi was not cooperating. So, after a short stay in Seoul, he was booted back to a provincial assignment.
I see. Corruption. Corruption and just like... I guess I don't know much about this man's story, nor where we will go, the twists and turns. Like, Korea is a completely uncharted territory. We've never covered Korea on this channel, so I'm completely ignorant of Korean history. Though I'm wondering... I guess we'll see how this goes, but I'm wondering if he's going... Obviously, he has great character traits, such as incorruptibility. You know, overall, he seems like everything you would want in, like, a leader or soldier, right? And so I'm wondering if there's gonna be, like, a crisis of somewhat, maybe an invasion or a war, that he's gonna have to rise up and essentially become the main guy of Korea. Okay, that, like I said, like, for those of you who know what the heck this is going, you're probably like, oh, no. You know, like I said, it's kind of, I'm just speculating, like, trying to wonder how this is all gonna end up. Or better, or maybe, another thought just came into my head, that his great qualities are gonna keep clashing with society, like this just happened here at Seoul, that the higher-ups are going to now mistreat him. He's probably gonna get screwed over, and probably never rise as high as he should because of the politics and circumstances of the higher-ups around him. Maybe that, I don't know.
By July, though, he had secured a position running a naval garrison and was rapidly rising up the ranks again. But here, too, he was schemed against by corrupt officials. Many attempts were made to have Yi removed, but each one he parried expertly until, one day, one of his previous superiors from the military academy, one who Yi had rebuked for corruption, was called to his province to do an inspection. Seeing an opportunity for revenge, the inspector wrote a report castigating Yi, saying he was completely negligent. When the report got to Seoul, Yi found himself dismissed from the military entirely. 4 months later, though, he was vindicated.
Dang. Okay, thank goodness. It all went well. But, like, that's what I'm saying, like... Is he so noble that that's going to completely clash with all the corruption that seems to be... I'm getting the impression that there's a lot of corruption already. So I'm wondering if his noble and great character is about to create more problems for him. Because he's not playing by the system, you know what I mean?
Found innocent of the charges against him, he was returned to service, but demoted to the lowest possible officer grade. He might have languished at this menial post, but at last his diligence was finally rewarded when he was brought back to meaningful duty by none other than one of his former rivals. One of the fleet commanders who Yi had served under while maintaining the naval garrison had been transferred to the northern frontier, and knowing that he'd need good, capable officers, he requested Yi be sent with him. Soon, though, it became clear that Yi was needed to garrison a fort on the Tumen River, which was one of the demarcation lines between Jurchen and Korean territory. Jurchen raiders roamed far south of the Korean border, looting and pillaging at will. Raids had nearly overrun the nearby frontier province, and so Yi took up the post. He drilled his troops until they were in top shape, and knowing that simply shoring up the defenses wouldn't be enough, he laid his troops out for an ambush, and then lured the raiders into Korean territory. He fell on them with a ferocity and a swiftness they had never seen in Korea. Within hours, the tribes were smashed, and their power shattered. They would never again be such a threat to the province. But here too, Yi was stymied by a jealous superior, and...
Dang. So obviously, beyond competent, managed to defeat the... Jurchen? Is that how it's pronounced? No, it's not, but either way, he managed to defeat the raiders and secure a wow, that's already off the bat grade. But again, now I'm starting to get the impression that my second prediction was correct, because, like, not only is he too noble, and that's already against the corruption, but just the jealousy, right, of his competence. Yeah, I feel like we're in for one of those series, guys.
And while the court was jubilant about his success, the official record reads, although the court recognized Yi Sun-shin's meritorious service to the king, it nevertheless decided against awarding him a prize. Shortly after this, Yi's father died, and being deeply rooted in Confucian ideals, Yi retired home for 3 years in accordance with the traditional mourning period. When he at last returned to service, he was put in charge of transportation for the court, but a mere 16 days later, it was decided that Yi was needed too badly at the border, and once again, he was sent north. He was to man a small island fortress. Undermanned, crumbling, beyond disrepair, he once again drilled its garrison, shored up its defenses, and week after week sent out a request to the district commander for reinforcements. Then, one morning, as the mists rolled in and most of the men were out harvesting rice because the military was in such a state that men on the border had to harvest their own food, the Jurchen attacked, pouring out of the mist on horseback. Yi Sun-shin only had a dozen men to defend with. He and his handful of soldiers fought desperately, cutting their way to one group of captives and escaping with 50 people the Jurchen would have taken prisoner. But by this time, you know the story. In order to avoid blame, Yi's superior, a man named Yi-il, blamed the entire defeat on Yi Sun-shin.
Oh gosh. Are we gonna have another Belisarius series? Like, I'm remembering a Belisarius from Epic History, and like how that series frustrated me because Belisarius kept getting screwed over by everyone. Like, oh crap, we're in for this, huh? Oh my gosh.
He had him brought back to the capital, tortured, and put on trial in an attempt to have him condemned so that Yi-il could avoid any of the blame. But Yi Sun-shin did not crack under torture, and when it came time to take the stand, he said this to Yi-il. My lord, you are asking me to assume the whole responsibility for the misfortune, but you are wrong. May I remind you that you have always refused my frequent request for reinforcement. The defeat was not a result of my negligence of duty, but in large part, your fault. Therefore, it is not I, but you, who should be held responsible for the defeat. The court was stunned. Many of them...
Heck yeah, tell him, dude. He doesn't care who you are. And it's true, though, like... Okay, obviously he doesn't back down. We love that. Though I'm wondering that's about to create even more issues.
Knew of Yi's record and were inclined to believe him, so in the end, he was allowed to live. But he was stripped of his rank, again, and returned to the army as a common enlisted man, starting over at the very bottom, as if he'd never taken the military examinations. He was once again placed on the northern border.
Oh my goodness, like what the heck, dude? Yeah, it seems like the politics is really screwing this guy over.
And asked to fight the invading tribes, and once again, he did so with distinction, until finally, in 1588, he asked that he be allowed to retire. But storm clouds were gathering over Korea, and some, especially his longtime friend, a man named Ryu Sung-young, recognized that soon the country would have need of good military men. While Yi had struggled through his career in the military, Ryu, his childhood compatriot, who had been his companion in games of war, had risen to be Prime Minister of Korea. It was actually through Ryu's influence, and because of his subtle aid, that Yi had time and again survived the machinations held against him. Now, Ryu planned to see that Yi would take his rightful place for the war he feared was coming. On the next episode of Extra History, remember how in the Sengoku Jidai episodes we talked about that messy Japanese invasion of Korea? Well, that's about to happen. Join us as Yi and Ryu take on the Japanese forces, as we delve into the differences in government, technology, and arms between these two nations, and as we explore the first few disastrous weeks of this war.
Alright, awesome. So that already, I think the tone has been set already, that Admiral Yi is a paragon of a man who just has the best qualities ever, but he's surrounded by snakes who are itching to either screw him over or completely remove him. But fortunately, there is a silver lining to all this, because Ryu, his friend, the Prime Minister, has got his back. So we will see how this goes on, but now I have an impression if I'm in for another Belisarius series. Oh dear. Alright guys, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm binge watching this whole series all in one go, so I'm gonna jump to part 2. I'll see you tomorrow.